So Cheryl is with us. She's got a degree in holistic nutrition. She has a diploma in iridology. I always think I'm going to mess that up. Iridology. So she'll tell you about that. A certificate in mind body healing. She has a huge interest in digestion, the nerves, and mental health. She is the author of a book called All Guts, All Glory: Discovery the Root Causes of Your Disease. This is a self-care guide for people and practitioners. 16 years of practical experience and research in omegas. 19 years working for one of the largest grocery retailers and food processors. That's interesting, and how that kind of worked into what you're doing. And you teach an interesting exercise that most people wouldn't even know about from Ireland called Wydan.
Yes.
So lots of amazing, awesome things that you're doing. And was I wrong in anything? Did I say anything wrong there?
How would I say? Well, I think it's 16 years, yes, as practice, but it is about 12 years with the omegas. And Wydan actually comes from Asia, but I started teaching it with the Walking Holidays.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. So Wydan is actually Asian, but it's been around for thousands of years, which is why I think it's a good thing to share it with anybody, because of the fact that it's just 19 simple moves. It's not like Tai Chi or Qigong, and even those masters will say that if you could do anything, just do this. Start with Wydan, or Wai Tang Kung is the.
Well, it's interesting that it's not like, it doesn't feel like it's a mainstream thing, because I'd never even heard of Wydan.
Yeah, it's not mainstream at all, and it's 20 minutes, but it's one of those self-practice. You can do it with the group as they do in Asia. For sure. They have it done there. But because, as you see, I wear several hats, it hasn't been a focus of mine to actually bring it into gyms or anything like that yet. But we'll see.
You'll see. And you are teaching it. You have a course in IAUSM teaching Wydan, which is amazing. So, please do take it. It's a great course. And knowing Cheryl, I would say it's probably very detailed, and will take you through it in a way that you will all understand. And it's great to have a good practice. Remember, to heal yourself means to work on your body too. And this is like body and mind, right?
Yeah. Well, Wydan it's an all over. It's like an external elixir, as they kind of say it, but it works the congestion, the detoxifying, the balance, the strength, the energy boosting, just in simple 20 minutes. But just because I was in fitness and coached with fitness and research and things, there's something about fitness that this actually complements. And that's the nice thing about, for elite athletes, something like this. Flexibility helps is in there too as well, but strengthening is too. It's to be experienced to really understand what it does for the entire body. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you do another amazing art, which is what we're supposed to be talking about today.
Yes.
And that is iridology, which is your eyes, like how your eyes can tell your story. I think that this is also an extremely fascinating thing, that just someone's eyeball can tell everything about them.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the reason why I like to teach iridology, and at first, if you've ever had a reading, has anybody here ever had an iridology reading? Show your hand. No. So it's very big in Europe, very big in even Mexico. That's where I had it done. And I never forgot the naturopathic doctor doing for me. It was actually on the menu of a spa. And I go, I have no idea what this is, so I'm going to do this. So this was 25 years ago. And when I had the thinking about holistic nutrition, I wanted to be able to read something, some tool that will be able to see something that the person doesn't need to comment on. It's just independent. So when I explored, there was classes here, but the interesting thing, he was bang on, of course. And the reason why I teach it is because I think self-diagnosis, or learning about your body and how it communicates to us, is important, number one. And you can learn about things, not just your eyes, but other things too as well. Teaching reflexology. It's maybe not as easy as iridology because it's a picture. Iridology is a picture, so everybody gets to see it. It's not the fingers being able to determine if there's pressure here, you know, the reflexology. So I brought some pictures. I have a presentation, but I have pictures, which might be just the easiest thing to show for people, but either way we can do it. The thing about iridology, which I'd like everybody to understand, yes, it is one area of the body. So if you can imagine, the eye is an extension of your nervous system, which makes sense. It's an extension of your brain through the optic nerve. These nerves are vibrating in the color part of your eye. So all the fibers that you can see or might have seen in people's eyes, you know, all those, they actually, that's your nerves. And so it'll determine quite simply, I mean, in 1 minute, the picture is there for me to see what the discolorings are, what the markings are, and all of this is a map of your body. So that's the thing about iridology, there's a map, and the map coincides with the development of the embryo. So these validations to see, you know, to say how things kind of connect. But the thing is, it also tells you your constitution. And any age, preferably younger, you can say, okay, now you've got to take care of your body that much more. These are the people that come in and say, you know, I've had issues, health issues since I was a kid. And I've had surgeries even before I was the age of 25. So you can see constitution. You can see a person's health condition. But the thing about it is, and I had somebody send me a link, you know, these people that are doing things and saying things about, so send me a link to some published stuff about iridology where they tested iridology to diagnose, and iridology does not diagnose at all. There is labels that we're familiar with in the medical, but it doesn't address the symptoms, it addresses the root cause. So you may have, well, everybody may have a headache from now and then, and you may have tiredness, but both can come from a myriad of different reasons, right? They're just different reasons. So this is the nice thing about iridology. In a flash, like a camera flash, you can see the current health conditions as in the root cause, and you can see what the constitution is to really help people understand where their weaknesses are and also their strengths too. So it kind of covers both.
So besides their health condition,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you don't do all of these different things in iridology, like you don't handle all the different facets of it because there's a lot of specialties, from what I'm assuming from one of our conversations. But what are all the different, I guess, facets of iridology? Like, is it just health? Is it just nutrition? Or are there other things that other iridology specialists can also see?
Right. Well, so I do clinical. That was my training. It was about 9 months and exams and everything. So I do clinical, and clinical doesn't address how many children you have or what kind of personality you have. So if you're kind of thinking, you know, if you're just thinking a little bit astrology in such way, but I won't say they're parallel, but just it can kind of go into that, how many kids you had, what your personality is. And there's a little bit of a reading in the truest sense of reading or psychic reading, but not anything too crazy. So when I think of iridology being in two camps, it's those two camps. Besides, you may have had a certain teacher that says, well, this is where this lies. You know, there's a little bit in the change of maps. That's it. Not too crazy, but really there's only kind of, I see it only two. So I've had people say, can you tell me this or telling me that? And I go, no, clinically trained iridology doesn't go into that aspect. Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I get here. So Melinda has taken a course in iridology, and she's asking if, I guess, how has these lockdowns affected being able to help people using this method?
Right. Yes. So I have had people, I mean, this is the thing about iridology in person, you know, in person is one of those things that, because you take you either use the like a microscope or something, a magnifying glass, or you use the camera. And so I've had people at distance want to have an iridology reading, And I've had them try to take the best picture they can with their of their eyes. They're not as good as the special iridology camera I could show you. It's got a lens on it about this long. But so during lockdown, I've had, some people beg, to come in, and, they've worn a mask, and we've done that. But I do other things as well, which is primarily done over Zoom or over the phone. And yeah, that's really, a few people took pictures of their eyes and tried to work it out so they can get the best. And I'd say, nope, and they keep going back to the drawing board till we got a decent photo that I could still see all the markings and stuff with. Yeah, good question.
Okay. So you can tell, sorry, I live in tourist town and it's a little busy around the house right now. So iridology. So you can basically, what do you use this for mostly? Like, what would you say has been some of the profound things that you've found with people that's really made a big difference for them?
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of stories for sure. A young guy came in the other week, and he's young, so he's trying to figure out a few things. And what I was able to, and I can show you a picture, is with him is address the stress in his life and tell him without a question of doubt, no matter what you're doing in your life, no matter how you think about your life, your eye is showing signs of extreme stress, right? So he's going, and it made sense for him. So I'm just going to show a quick picture, and then I'll say a couple of other stories. So what you can see here, see all these lines here? They come down, they come here, they look white.
Yeah, I can see those.
And there's a few of them, right? So this particular person has a lot of tension or stress in their body. And what can happen with people who have a lot of tension and stress in the body, which is really where my book goes into, one of the root causes of disease, is it holds toxins in check, right? So if you're tight, which is where athletes go, which is why they have a buildup of lactic acid, or when you work out a lot, or when you work out, they haven't worked out for a while, it's the same, it's all kind of connected there. Another story, I had a couple of athletes come in, and they had I'm not sure if I have a picture of that. They actually had heavy ARCUS. I'm going to show you kind of what it can look like. And it's a sodium cholesterol on the top. So you can see that cloud.
Right. Yeah.
You can see a lot of that in elderly people where they actually have this big cloudy ring that comes through. Well, what I had to figure out with these two athletes who eat very well is how the heck do you have sodium, built up in your head, in your brain? So it turns out 5 years ago, we figured it out. They actually had a soda stream, and they were having copious amounts every day. Everything was about putting it through the soda stream. So they would have that, and that's all it was. So they immediate stop, because they were having all these health issues they could not figure out with energy and things like that, and crashing, and so they knew there was something, but they couldn't figure it out because their diet was very pristine, and of course they're working out regularly, not overdoing it. So another story, I guess I would say, is about a 9-year-old, and to show the parent that this child already had central toxemia, so low enzymes, the terrain in the gut was poor. You had toxicity circulating in the body more than it should be going through. And so the whole, the child was like, you could put labels on it, ADHD and all these labels that they put on, but that was the core of it. It could come from stress as well, central toxemia, but it's so simple to identify.
So you mean that some child who has ADHD or has being diagnosed with something else that's more common that might be a doctor's go-to, it could actually be something like a toxemia?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've talked to many people who were maybe they're in 20, 30s now, who were psych drugs, a lot of psych drugs. And at the end of the day, they had liver and pancreatic issues that were never addressed because a lot of doctors didn't really assume that they had all of these things. And so they just addressed behavior instead of addressing the physical thing, because they can't see it and the child can't really communicate, and they just don't go do tests unless you kind of press for them when they're children.
So normally doctors, when I used to go, and I've been doctors in years, but when I usually go in, like they would look in your eye. So are they looking for anything when they're looking in your eye? Like you would think that that's what they're doing then.
There are some things that the ophthalmologist is looking for. Now they look back into the eye. Now I was going to get this slip.
I was talking about the general practitioner. So you
Oh,
go
the
there,
general
and
practitioner.
they're checking your ears, they're checking your leg, making you look in your mouth, and they're looking in your eyes. Like, are they
Yeah.
looking for anything?
Yeah, they can kind of see certain things like a discoloring, a film on the eye. So they're kind of looking for things that might be to them a few scenarios, simple scenarios that might show that there's there. The eye doctor, the same thing. They're looking for certain things. And I've known eye doctors that became iridologists just to add on that part of it. But yeah, they can see certain things like diabetes, but they're looking further back in the eye. So the practitioner, the MD, is looking for things around, like just simple things that are going to kind of stand out for them. And whereas the ophthalmologist has a camera that will look back through the pupil into the back there and looking for certain things there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Getting a question here. Can you see evidence of brain injury and what person can do to help heal that?
Yes, if the brain injury is causing pain, let's say there's two ways to look at it. In the iris will show very white and bright and high vibration if there is an injury, if there is like an acute inflammation. And so if that is what's currently going on in the brain, it'll show. And it'll show on the top of the eye is the head part. And if for some reason a brain injury has gone through the acute phase but never entirely healed, then we'll see the markings of chronic inflammation. And then that way you can kind of see where the brain is and where the brain is, because we call it the brain flare. So almost 1/4 of the eye is the brain flare, being the most important part of the body. Now, what the person can do to help heal is out of what I'd call the clinical iridology, as in seeing what there is and bringing in the practitioner as to what are the recommendations. So because I was a nutrition, it was easy, that part of the course, as far as what to do on certain things, bring down inflammation, deal with toxicity. Although we did learn cleansing was very, very important in supporting the detoxification. But definitely, yeah, what you can do to help heal for sure. Inflammation, but there's a lot of things to work with inflammation. But I would just suggest, I could say, rightly, just to help people understand, inflammation is not the root cause of disease. It's a symptom. Yeah, it's a symptom, and it manifests from toxicity, irritation, injury, infection. So these kind of things are what kind of manifests in inflammation. But yeah, there's got to be a reason for inflammation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question, then I'm going to ask one that's there in the chat. And
Okay.
I don't even know why I want to ask this question, but I do. So when people have had a shaking in the brain, like when I say that, it's like, I've had a car accident, right? And your head flies forward, your head flies back. And even if it doesn't hit anything, your brain is like being jostled inside your head.
Yeah.
And I was in a course once where, usually when you have an accident like that, they don't do x-rays of your brain. Unless you're showing symptoms in that moment, they're not really looking at your brain. They're looking at, your neck and other things like that. Would you say that this would be something that somebody should do if they've been in an accident? Would it show if there's something going on?
Yes, it would. If there's anything going on in the body, even so, that's the beauty of iridology. You can see things before you actually have symptoms. That is one of the beautiful things. But let's say you've had what we call trauma, some physical trauma, then it will show up for sure. Now, the other thing also to help out with at the moment, might as well, is to see where there are other things that need to be addressed that would help in the healing, right? So if the healing is not going well, it's going to show up. And if the healing is going well, it's going to show up. If there's any residue, like I say, chronic inflammation, degeneration of such, it will show up. And the other thing is, for optimum healing, there may be things like showing up that can actually then help with the healing that the person might not be aware, but the iris is actually showing that it's there. If
That's
that helps.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
great. And we
Yeah.
have a question here too. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
How do you see emotion, or how do you see, or can you see emotional trauma in the eye?
Yes, I'm going to say first, right off, because I've already talked about it, the tension and stress rings, right? So if you've got emotional trauma, I mean, anxiety or anything like that, it's going to show up in tension and stress. And now some people say they've got a lot of stress. I'm going to continue with a couple of other things, but some people say, I have a lot of stress. And I'll look at their eye and I'm going, yeah, but you do, but it's more drama. It's more drama. It rolls off your back. It's drama. So the eye can help with understanding if the emotions are actually affecting the body. Now, what it also can do from the digestive system is if the digestive system is really out of whack, as my book kind of brings in, it's the digestive system partnered with the nervous system, and the nervous system, the mental, emotional, that kind of component resonates through the physical, but definitely affects the digestive system, and then therefore digestive function, when it's not working, will show up in the eye. So you can see what's manifesting. It might have been there before. I mean, we can't always say that things were or weren't unless you have, different pictures. But yeah, absolutely.
This is fascinating. We could talk about this all day. This is so good to see everybody is asking questions. People didn't know this, right? They didn't know how powerful our eyes are, and, I always knew, because I used to do reflexology, how powerful our feet are, our feet and our hands. But definitely, I never realized about my eyes either, until a couple of years ago. And knowing that we now have an amazing teacher and coach, and someone that you can get some more help with this, and you're going to be teaching a course in iridology.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit about that. Basically, the 2-hour presentation that I did, and I circuit different, like Nature's Emporium, if you're familiar with Nature's Emporium here in Ontario, but just going around and teaching people that it exists, yes, but how it works and how it's helpful, and teaching them with it. But I always used to say, don't go home and try to self-diagnose, because there's a lot going into those 2 hours. So what I'm going to do is kind of spread it out a bit, and so people can get familiar with each of the key markings that anybody can't get wrong. Can't get wrong. It's there. What you have to figure out, like a detective, even as a practitioner, we're detectives, have to figure out, well, where does my emotional, stress come from, or where does my tension and stress come from? It could be working out. It could be as simple as that. And those are the tools I love to kind of bring forth to people. Very simple tools. But I just want to show a quick picture of central toxemia. I think you can see it. See how it's so orange around the center, right? Yep. So the digestive system is around the center. And so you can see easily there's spokes here, and that means the toxicity is coming out from the digestive system, or in this case, the colon. That's there. But the oranges, some people think they have green eyes, but really they have toxicity. And that's a common thing with green eyes. We say, well, my eyes are always blue, but how come they turn green? And there's different questions that come about on that, because you can be toxic if you just had a binge of alcohol at the cottage, just for it to go through the system. Yeah, but no, I'm excited to teach it, because not only inherent in here is just how the body communicates to us in all the ways it does. And this is just one. So I actually want to do tongue analysis. I want to do a few courses that come into that self-diagnosing, just so you can see for yourself, and then have some tools to carry forward. and deal with that way instead of running to the doctor. Even the doctors of the past, in my study for the book, they had books that were home care books for people, so they didn't have to run to the doctor.
We can take care of some of the things by ourselves. So that's amazing. And this is some of the juice that's inside of IAUSM. Oh my gosh. So you also have a bonus. So this is the bonus, not part of the loot bag, but part of the bonus of being a student of IAUSM, as they're getting a 1-hour consultation with you. And it could be a YDAN. Oh, it could be the complimentary YDAN course in IAUSM. The 1-hour consultation, what is that going to entail?
Well, the simple thing with the 1 hour is really to ask the questions first, right? Again, it's a detective work. And that way we get down to what is bothering them the most, or what is top of mind, or what are the key areas to focus on even first. So that's kind of the simple questionnaire there. Then to explore some understanding based on what came through that, and then to give 1 or 2 protocols based on the things that are coming out that are most important, so they can start somewhere, learn something, start somewhere.
There you go. So join IAUSM. You'll get this 1-hour consultation. You'll be with Rogerio. You'll be with Cheryl. There's like so much juice coming in. I'm like so excited. But anyways, Cheryl, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anyway, I mean, you've been my friend for a while now, but I'm so glad that you are part of IAUSM and you saw, the benefit that she is going to offer so many people as we work together. And thanks for your time today. Thanks for being a part of us and all this. Like, you're bringing so much great. Oh, and you have, what time is it? Okay. So we also have, you're doing a book club.
Oh, yes.
And IAUSM.
Yes.
So it's the Awakening Book Club, but this right now you are doing Anastasia. So there's like the 9 books of Anastasia that you're doing as you're reading the chapters and opening it up for discussion. So this is like, tell us a little bit about Anastasia.
Yeah, well, Anastasia, for most people who have questions about life, and how many people here probably don't have questions. I know Jules has read the book, the series, and if you read the series, you'll know more about, you'll just know how juicy these books are, all the lessons and learning. But to me, if you're looking for something sensational, you're not come to the right series of book. It's sensational, but it doesn't have the lights and costumes and stuff. It's really more about simplifying, simple answers. We are more than who we think we are. We have the powers beyond probably what most people believe, but it's grounded in her way her delivery is, how gardening helps. So it's not all about, yes, the powers, and there's certain things that you're just gonna have an appreciation for. So many answers that she gives, raising children, how we can live now. Actually, one of the key questions a lot of people have is, well, where do we come from? How is it that we came to where we are here today? Those questions are answered in the book. So you really get to go back through history and learn how the pyramids were made. Like, even those simple questions that have been asked, and we might be watching all these documentaries and still think, oh, nobody knows, it's a mystery, it's a mystery. Well, she takes the mystery out of life, but she actually absolutely puts the mystery in life. And that's where the journey comes for everybody. And so it's great. I can't stress enough.
So when's the second read? Because you've already done the first book.
Done the first
that one's all recorded, so you can go in and definitely watch that one.
Yes.
So that's already done. So, but you're doing the second book live. So when does that start?
That will start mid-September. Now, if I go to Ireland, fingers crossed, then it will start the last week in September. But you definitely have to listen to the first book
first one, yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of series that it builds, and what happens is what you learn, it gives you a platform or a grounded place to be before you get into more, more information that's being shared. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Well, thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you for being part of IAUSM. And